Okay, here is the audience. Is everybody in there?
Yeah.
Everybody's in there? Okay. Sigmund Freud once said, "Men are more moral than they think and far more immoral than they can imagine." So how many of you have ever experienced the proverbial Freudian slip? Even though Freud was a little crazy, we still commonly refer to our unconscious slips of the tongue as Freudian slips, so apparently he was on something. Today I'm going to talk to you and give you some information about this highly controversial yet brilliant man. Information that I've learned from research that I've done and my major in psychology. So while it is true that Sigmund Freud was a user of cocaine, does that discredit his theories and work that carry through into psychology today? We're going to discuss Freud's cocaine use, his theories on hypnosis, Freud's model of the mind, and several of his books. It was not uncommon to walk into a shop in the 1800s and see a bottle of wine on the shelf that advertised that it contained cocaine. Freud enjoyed using cocaine, and starting in 1884, he used it to try to treat his own depression. He soon found that the stamina and the euphoric feeling that it gave him, he also enjoyed. Eventually, he stumbled upon the discovery that cocaine had analgesic properties, and he began prescribing this drug to his patients for a various assortment of ailments. In 1885, Freud traveled to Paris to hear Jean-Martin Charcot give lectures on his method of hypnosis to treat patients with hysteria and other such mental conditions. After the lectures, Freud returned to Vienna and began to work alongside his colleague Joseph Breuer. Breuer was working on using hypnosis in a way that encouraged hysterical patients to talk freely about their symptoms. According to an article entitled Sigmund Freud that I found on the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, written by Stephen Thornton, Freud and Breuer discovered that many phobias and ailments patients developed were the result of an emotionally traumatic event that they had repressed previously. While under hypnosis, if the men could get the patients to recall the event and confront it consciously, generally the ailments would disappear. This led to the book Studies in Hysteria, written in 1895. Of course, Freud began to favor the theory that the cause of the neurosis that the patients were experiencing was sexual in nature. Breuer did not agree with this, and the two men ceased working together. Sharon Heller, in her book entitled Freud A to Z, gives us some insight on Freud's self-analysis. It was during this analysis that Freud wrote one of his most noted works, The Interpretation of Dreams. Freud wrote about his dreams that he had concerning the death of his father, and what these dreams following this event really meant. Freud's model of the mind is still widely studied today. I've referred to it in my freshman psychology class, and even my son, a freshman in high school, has learned about this theory. My psychology textbook, Psychology Core Concepts, describes Freud's famous metaphor that compares the mind to an iceberg. The part above the water is considered our conscious mind, and the larger, seemingly hidden part below the surface is our unconscious mind. The study of Freud's model of the mind today gives us amazing and highly useful insight into how the mind works, consciously and unconsciously. In conclusion, again, it is true that Freud used cocaine throughout his career, but as you can see, the theories he developed and the books that he wrote are still commonly referred to today in fields such as psychology, philosophy, and psychoanalysis. We've discussed Freud's cocaine use, several of his books, his self-analysis, and Freud's model of the mind, and also his works in hypnosis. The unconscious mind is a vast reservoir of energy and information. Some of that information we are able to easily recall, and some of it seems to disappear. What memories are you repressing today? And I have to show you again. I'm sure you can wait.